Hello, reading room. Boy, we have some good lighting today. What the hell happened there? I don't even know. Does she think she looks good? Better than I did in yesterday's lighting, that's for sure. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here in the Bookless classroom. We are here in the reading room. Bookless classroom got started later. We are here on December 26th when we're supposed to be off. You would think we would be off on Christmas, but we had a Christmas celebration. You should have been here. We made stuff for our lips. And it's made with lots of really great ingredients. Lanolin, shea butter, coconut oil, beeswax. Okay, let's get going. We are here on Black Looks, Race and Representation by Bell Hooks. We are starting chapter 4. Selling Hot Pussy. Representations of Black female sexuality in the cultural marketplace. Boy, do I know you girls or what? You know. You probably wouldn't agree with that. Friday night in a small Midwestern town, I go with a group of artists and professors to a late night dessert place. As we walk past a group of white men standing in the entryway to the place, we overhear them talking about us, saying that my companions, who are all white, must be liberals from the college, not regular townies, to be hanging out with the nigger. Everyone in my group acts as though they did not hear a word of this conversation. Even when I call attention to the comments, no one responds. It's like I am not only talking, but suddenly to them, I am not there. It's not like I am not talking, right? I am invisible. For my colleagues, racism expressed in everyday encounters, this is our second such experience together, is only an unpleasantness to be avoided, not something to be confronted or challenged. It is just something negative, disrupting the good time. Better to not notice and pretend it's not there. As we enter the dessert place, they all burst into laughter and point to a row of gigantic chocolate breasts, complete with nipples, huge edible tits. They think this is a delicious idea, seeing no connection between this racialized image and the racism expressed in the entryway. Living in a world where white folks are no longer nursed and nurtured primarily by Black female caretakers, they do not look at these symbolic breasts and consciously think about mammies. They do not see this representation of chocolate breasts as a sign of displaced longing for a racist past, when the bodies of Black women were a commodity available to anyone white who could pay the price. I look at these dark breasts and think about the representation of Black female bodies in popular culture. Seeing them, I think about the connection between contemporary representations and the types of images popularized from slavery on. I remember Harriet Jacobs' powerful expose of the psychosexual dynamics of slavery in Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. I remember the way she described that particular institution of domination and the white people who constructed it as a cage of obscene birds. I don't know if I'm going to read that. That is for doggone sure. The psychosexual dynamics of slavery. I'm living it, girl. Not that you didn't. Not that you didn't. I just have a different way of communicating it. Representations of Black female bodies. Now, see, I also remember this, and it was downtown Detroit, and there was a dessert place, and we were there late at night. It could have been after St. Patrick's Day or during that whole event thing, whatever it was. And I talked about my Black friend, I think earlier today or at the time, and this is the same one, and her name was Santil. I said, she looks like Will Smith's wife. And exactly like her in the slap incident, by the way. Exactly. And first of all, the white women didn't see them as dark breasts. They saw them as chocolate mounds that were in the shape of a breast, right? It was chocolate. I want chocolate frosting on my cake. I don't want white frosting on my cake. I want chocolate frosting on my cake. And in line with what Bell Hooks is saying, guess what I also don't want? I also don't want white boobs. I don't know. I mean, what would that say if they were white boobs with pink nipples there? I think they had it there. So then you can construe these are black and these are white. See what I'm saying? By comparison, those chocolate mounds that I would have bought because they were chocolate becomes a racial thing by comparison. But not everyone look, I mean, come on, listen to what you said. I look at these dark breasts and think about the representations of black female bodies in popular culture. No, I don't. I don't. Right? So here is Carol Gilligan in her different voice. It's a different voice. I have a different voice. Representations of black female bodies in contemporary popular culture rarely subvert or critique images of black female sexuality, which were part of the cultural apparatus of the 19th century racism and which still shapes perceptions today. Now, you also have to have an idea here. Does it shape perceptions today? Clearly, it shapes perceptions today. But the thing about this is that if you were part of that underground, then you knew how 19th century racism shaped our perceptions. So you're talking about the rise of eugenics, basically. But unless you were educated, you didn't know about the rise of eugenics. I mean, to be fair, that really does give credence to their ability to rise, the ignorance of the public about its rising. But you're talking about shaping perceptions for a very small group, of a small, powerful group, but still a small group, right? So you've got to get from their perspective, if they're going to win this race, you've got to get the peoples to have that imagery, and you just can't with such blatant disregard for humanity. I brought up my coffee, whatever here. So not that you want to have to see this or anything, but it is kind of fun. There's all my lip gloss back there that we made yesterday in Christmas. And now I'm going to use my press as I usually do, and this is how I do coffee. And I've got everything in there. I just needed it to steep for a while. Oh, that's how I do coffee too, but. Delish. What I was going to say. Okay. So when you think about it, the concept of eugenics would end up getting a rise again right about now if you were to think about it with the public. You either make your case or get the F out. And you haven't done it. to the eugenics people, is what I'm saying. That flavor is the green tea and my lip stuff. I can feel it. It's probably all the moisturizers in there. Boy, they feel good on my lips. But I can't taste the tea. That one was a tea one, and I can't taste the tea. It's ginger. What was it? Green tea and lemon. I can't taste the lemon. Sandra Gilman's essay, Black Bodies, White Bodies, toward an iconography of female sexuality in late 19th century art, medicine, and literature. Can we please make these titles a little longer, please? Calls attention to the way Black presence in early North American society allowed whites to sexualize their world by projecting onto Black bodies a narrative of sexualization disassociated from whiteness. Gilman documents the development of this image, commenting that by the 18th century, the sexuality of the Black male and female becomes an icon for deviant sexuality. Welcome to my world, motherfuckers. He emphasized that it is the Black female body that is forced to serve as an icon for Black sexuality in general. And what I get is that right now is the animosity I think I feel from, in particular, Black women right there. First of all, you're an icon of sexuality, which was my job, by the way, and you do it very differently by taking away my Black identity. Because I can, as whatever woman is dominating that sexual narrative, the sexual narrative becomes this. So you might see. Most often, attention was not focused on the complete Black female on display at a fancy ball in the civilized heart of European culture, Paris. She is there to entertain guests with the naked image of otherness. See? And then that sexuality begins to be, the mammy type of image is not the sensual Black woman we see of today. That initial image. Although, on the other hand, they weren't overfed, but, and also that mammy character really has more of a Russian feel to it, doesn't it? As a mother figure. With the big breasts, like she's talking about. Most often, attention was not... I already got that. She is there to entertain guests with other nakedness of others. They are not to look at her as a whole human being. They are to notice only certain parts. Objectified in a manner similar to that of Black female slaves who stood on auction blocks while owners and overseers described their important saleable parts, the Black women whose naked bodies were displayed for whites at social functions had no presence. They were reduced to mere spectacle. Little is known of their lives, their motivations. Their body parts were offered as evidence to support racist notions that Black people were more akin to animals than other humans. When Sarah Bartman's body was exhibited in 1810, she was ironically and perversely dubbed the Hottentot Venus. Her naked body was displayed on numerous occasions for 5 years. When she died, the mutilated parts were still subject to scrutiny. Gilman stressed that the audience, which had paid to see her buttocks and had fantasized about the uniqueness of her genitalia when she was alive, could, after her death, and dissection examine both. That's science for you folks. That's science. Those are our doctors here in the United States of America. You know, and if you want to tie that to a religion, which I'm not going to do, but it really would be, what religion would do that? And where would infiltrations begin and end? To give a narrative to this group of people that they wanted, the power that bees wanted, right? Much of the racialized fascination with Bartman's body concentrated attention on her buttocks. A similar white European fascination with the bodies of black people, particularly black female bodies, was manifest during the career of Josephine Baker. Content to exploit white eroticization of black bodies, Baker called attention to the butt in her dance routines. Phyllis Rose, though often condescending in her recent biography, Jazz Cleopatra, Josephine Barber in her time, perceptively explores Baker's concentration on her ass. She handled it as though it were an instrument, a rattle, something apart from herself that she could shake. One could hardly overemphasize the importance of the rear end. Baker herself declared that people had been hiding their asses too long. The rear end exists. I see no reason to be ashamed of it. It's true, there are rear ends so stupid, so pretentious, so insignificant that they're good only for sitting on. With Baker's triumph, the erotic gaze of a nation moved downward. She had uncovered a new region for desire. Yeah. Yeah. Girls, I have the black ass. They're like, we know. Not so much, though. Glass blower. Many of Baker's dance moves highlighting the butt prefigure movements popular in contemporary black dance. Although contemporary thinking about black female bodies does not attempt to read the body as a signal of natural racial inferiority, the fascination with black butts continues. In the sexual iconography of the traditional black pornographic imagination, the protruding butt is seen as an indication of a heightened sexuality. Contemporary popular music is one of the primary cultural locations for discussions of black sexuality. In song lyrics, the butt is talked about in ways that attempt to challenge racist assumptions that suggest it is an ugly sign of inferiority, even as it remains a sexualized sign. The popular song "Doin' the Butt" fostered the promotion of a hot new dance, favoring those who could most protrude their buttocks with pride and glee. A scene in Spike Lee's film School Days depicts an all-black party where everyone is attired in swimsuits dancing, doing the butt. It is one of the most compelling moments in the film. The black butts on display are unruly and outrageous. They are not the still bodies of the female slave made to appear as mannequin. They are not a silenced body displayed as playful, cultural, nationalist resistance. They challenge assumptions that the black body is skin color and shape is a mark of shame. Undoubtedly the most transgressive and provocative moment in School Days, this celebration of buttocks either initiated or coincided with an emphasis on butts, especially the buttocks of women in fashion magazines. Its potential to disrupt and challenge notions of black bodies, specifically female bodies, was undercut by the overall sexual humiliation and abuse of black females in the film. Many people did not see the film, so it was really the song Doing the Butt that challenged dominant ways of thinking about the body, which encourage us to ignore asses because they are associated with undesirable and unclean acts. Unmasked, the butt could be once again worshipped as an erotic seat of pleasure and excitement. When calling attention to the body in a manner inviting the gaze to mutilate black female bodies yet again, to focus solely on the butt, contemporary celebrations of this part of the anatomy do not successfully subvert sexist, racist representations. Oh, you think not? Just as 19th century representations of black female bodies were constructed to emphasize that these bodies were expendable, contemporary images, even those created in black cultural production, give a similar message. When Richard Wright's protest novel Native Son was made into a film in the 1980s, the film did not show the murder of Bigger's black girlfriend, Bessie. This was doubly ironic. She is murdered in the novel and then systematically eliminated in the film. Painters exploring race as artistic subject matter in the 19th century often created images contrasting white female bodies with black ones in ways that reinforced the greater value of the white female icon. Gilman's essay concludes this critical project. He is really most concerned with exploring white female sexuality. A similar strategy is employed, and that's the truth of the matter. And that's the, when you take the long way around, that includes promoting, in the end, a deviant sexual representation, it's only going to hurt you. I'm using you and they not to represent, right, any one group. These are messages for everybody. I mean, they have exploited me in exactly the same way. And the whole thing about it is Catholics are supposed to be hands off, motherfucker. Especially Latina Catholics. Hello, too much like Mary. You're making me into a martyr. What the hell? Pretty sure that's not your intention. Black and female, sexual outside the context of marriage, Bessie represents fallen womanhood. She has no protectors. No legal system will defend her rights. Pleading her cause to Bigger, she asks for recognition and compassion for her specific condition. I keep thinking of, periodically, it just popped into my mind. Come on, the four ladies with what's her name, long face there. Beautiful, long, curly hair, who likely is my cousin Michelle. She was in Square Pegs, right? Her, which nobody remembers her from Square Pegs. The show that was on from New York City with the four ladies. Her and her boyfriend, Mr. Big, right? Pleading her cause to Bigger, she asks for recognition and compassion for her specific condition. Bigger, please, don't do this to me. Please, all I do is work like a dog from morning till night. I ain't got no happiness. I ain't never had none. I ain't got nothing, and you do this to me. My eyes are just burning. I just want to get my, while I'm reading, just to help me, I want to get my eye drops. Hold on. And think about that. Our relationship to, what was that show? So another way that white America takes a black issue and turns it, all those flat asses over there. And what happened when Samantha gained all that weight? All that weight, 5 pounds. She had a little muffin top. And what they do? Guilted her into being that skinny little thing with no ass. Just 2 little humps here and an open shirt. All right, they were a little bit bigger than 2 little humps. Poignantly describing the lot of working class poor black women in the 1940s, her words, or 1960s, or 1980s, or 2000, or 2020 with COVID and none of their rights that were respected during COVID. Her words echo those of poet Nikki Giovanni describing the status of black women in the late 1960s. The opening lines to Woman Poem reads, You see my whole life is tied up to unhappiness. There is a radical difference, however. In the 1960s, the black female is naming her unhappiness to demand a hearing, an acknowledgement of her reality, and change of status. This poem speaks to the desire of black women to construct a sexuality apart from that imposed upon us by a racist, sexist culture, calling attention to the ways we are trapped by conventional notions of sexuality and desirability. It's a sex object if you're pretty and no love, or love and no sex. If you're fat, get back fat black women. Be a mother, grandmother, strong thing, but not woman, games woman, romantic woman, love needer, man seeker, dick eater, sweat getter, fuck needing, love seeking woman. Let's do it again. It's a sex object if you're pretty and no love, or love and no sex. If you're fat, get back fat black woman. Be a mother, grandmother, strong thing but not woman, games woman, romantic woman, love needer, man seeker, dick eater, sweat getter, fuck needing, love seeking woman. Woman Poem is a cry of resistance, urging those who exploit and oppress black women, who objectify and dehumanize, to confront the consequences of their actions. Facing herself, the black female realizes all that she must struggle against to achieve self-actualization. She must counter the representation of herself, her body, her being, as expendable. Bombarded with images representing black female bodies as expendable, black women have either passively absorbed this thinking or vehemently resisted it. Popular culture provides countless examples of black female appropriation and exploitation of negative stereotypes to either assert control over the representation or at least reap the benefits of it. Since black female sexuality has been represented in racist, sexist iconography as more free and liberated, many black women singers, irrespective of the quality of their voices, have cultivated an image which suggests they are sexually available and licentious, undesirable in the conventional sense, which defines beauty and sexuality as desirable only to the extent that it is idealized and unattainable. The black female body gains attention only when it is synonymous with accessibility, availability, when it is sexually deviant. Tina Turner's construction of a public sexual persona most conforms to this idea of black female sexuality. Bless her butt, folks, and that's really the big conversation right here, isn't it? In her recent autobiography, I, Tina, she presents a sexualized portrait of herself, providing a narrative that is centrally sexual confession, even though she begins by calling attention to the facts that she was raised with puritanical notions of innocence and virtuous womanhood, which made her reticent and fearful of sexual experience. All that follows contradicts this portrait, since the image that has been cultivated and commodified in popular culture is of her as hot and highly sexed. The sexually ready and free black woman. A tension exists in the autobiography between the reality she presents and the image she must uphold. Describing her first sexual experience, Turner recalls, "Naturally, I lost my virginity in the backseat of a car. This was the 50s, right? I think he had planned it, the little devil. He knew by then that he could get into my pants because there's already been a lot of kissing and touching inside the blouse and then under the skin and so forth. The next step was obvious, and me, as brazen as I was, when it came down to finally doing the real thing, it was like, uh-oh, it's time. I mean, I was scared, and then it happened. Well, it hurt so bad, I think my earlobes were hurting. I was just dying, God." And he wanted to do it 2 or 3 times. It was like poking an open wound. I could hardly walk afterward. But I did it for love. The pain was excruciating, but I loved him, and he loved me, and that made the pain less. Everything was right, so it was beautiful. Only there is nothing beautiful about this scenario Turner describes. A tension exists between the cool way she describes this experience, playing it off to suggest she was in control of the situation, and the reality she recounts where she succumbs to male lust and suffers sex. After describing a painful rite of sexual initiation, Turner undermines the confession by telling the reader that she felt good. Through retrospective memory, Turner is able to retell this experience in a manner that suggests she was comfortable with sexual experience at an early age, yet cavalier language does not completely mask the suffering evoked by the details she gives. However, this cavalier attitude accords best with how her fans see her. Throughout the biography, she will describe situations of extreme sexual victimization and then undermine the impact of her words by evoking the image of herself and other black women as sexually free, suggesting that we assert sexual agency in ways that are never confirmed by the evidence she provides. Tina Turner's singing career has been based on the construction of an image of black female sexuality that is made synonymous with wild animalistic lust. Raped and exploited by Ike Turner, the man who made this image and imposed it on her, Turner describes the way her public persona as singer was shaped See, I remember this time. I don't remember her with Ike, but I do remember her after Ike and knowing everyone knew she was abused and her rise to this sexual level of small g God, without a doubt. So unbelievably sexy. Looking like almost like this. Almost like this. I would guess she probably had a look like this. I remember it. I distinctly remember Tina Turner and something similar to this. So we knew, like, just like you know a neighbor, right? In a way, it is. When you know something's going on, and what are you supposed to do about it? The cops are there occasionally, right? And that's the best that you can do about it. And those were so many circumstances, I think, that ended up really turning good people off of law enforcement and creating only those people who could stomach something like that and then have a resolution like, you know, hitting their head against a brick wall. And you could, you know, understand that figuratively. Turner describes the way her public persona as singer was shaped by his pornographic, misogynist imagination. So this is the culture of our young males. I haven't read it in a long, long time. I don't know what it's going to be saying. But we have a culture that is a pornographic, misogynist imagination of women in our fascist, white, Germanic, Irish, Dutch roots men. who are lots of military. Ike explained, as a kid back in Clarksdale, he'd become fixated on the white jungle goddess who romped through Saturday matinee movie serials, revealing rag-clad women with long flowing hair and names like Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and Nyoka, particularly Nyoka. He still remembered The Perils of Nyoka, a 15-part Republic picture serial from 1941 starring Kay Aldridge in the title role and featuring a villainess named Vultura, an ape named Satan, and Clayton Moore, later to be TV's Lone Ranger, as love interest. Nyoka, Sheena, Tina Turner, Ike's own personal wild woman. He loved it. Now, Prince brings out similar imagery. Sheena Easton, so the actual name there of the goddess. He was responsible for, he was also a Jehovah's Witness. So I can see where he is using not his Jehovah's Witness background, but his artistry to reveal, although all of the dark imagery makes it very difficult to reveal, what is the plight of Black women. But he tries to do it using Sheena Easton and Sheila E. And, by the way, see, so here you're getting the imagery, the sexual imagery and the expectations, and then giving these young people with this pornographic, misogynist imagination and a power. The power that comes with the theater, see Bookless Classroom, and this kind of, quote, social media, right? Of the day. And who is promoting this? The Roman Catholic Church. It's got Roman Catholic all over this. See the Bookless Classroom. It's got Roman Catholicism all over this. I'm sorry, Roman Catholics, but you've got all the power. And so with all the power and all the money to call you out when you have child oblation and that kind of power, the power of child oblation continuing on into 2025, just hidden from the vision, then you try and support in your sinister, backward, hidden in the background ways, eugenics ideas of eugenics. We can see your associations everywhere. We can see them everywhere. This is another theater play from the miracle plays that they are using to infiltrate psychologically your mind and your body for the Roman Catholic version of hell and Satan. This is crazy. Ike explained, as a kid back in Clarksdale, he'd become fixated on the white jungle goddess who romped through Saturday matinee movie serials, revealing rag-clad women with long flowing hair and names like Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and Nyoka, particularly Nyoka. He still remembers The Perils of Nyoka, a 15-part Republic picture serial from 1941. Yeah, we're looking that one up. Turner makes no comment about her thoughts about this image. How can she? It is part of the representation which makes and maintains her stardom. And don't forget, this is a linear pattern with the person, with Angela Davis, a little bit, but not so much, but much more Angela, what was it? Angie Dickinson. Darker skinned, always tan, making sure she fit in with that ghetto imagery, but more likened to the white jungle goddess. Ike's pornographic fantasy of the black female as wild sexual savage emerged from the impact of a white patriarchal controlled media shaping his perceptions of reality. Where's his biography? His decision to create the wild black woman was perfectly compatible with prevailing representations of black female sexuality in a white supremacist society. Of course, the Tina Turner story reveals that she was anything but a wild woman. She was fearful of sexuality, abused, humiliated, fucked, and fucked over. Turner's friends and colleagues documented the myriad ways she suffered about the experience and being brutally physically beaten prior to appearing on stage to perform, yet there is no account of how she coped with the contradiction. This story is told by witnesses in I, Tina. I'm almost sure I read that. She was on one hand in excruciating pain inflicted by a misogynist man who dominated her life and her sexuality, and on the other hand projecting in every performance the image of a wild, tough, sexually liberated woman. Not unlike the lead character in the novel Story of O by Pauline Reage, Turner must act as though she glories in her submission, that she delights in being a slave of love. You know, and get this, assholes, we do delight in being a, in quotes, slave of love. I don't mind my husband being the commander-in-chief in the bedroom. Not one single bit. But that's not the fantasy that is brought to life by, for example, those miracle plays. Ideas of eugenics. Ideas of superiority, which are all wrapped up in Sinterklaas, you motherfucking Dutch. Jesus Christ. I'm saying, who even knows? That, to me, could have easily been just repercussions as well, right? Take this, asshole, in your Catholic Church. I don't know. I know a recurring theme when I see one, though. Of course, the teeners, she was on the one hand in excruciating pain inflicted by a misogynist man who dominated her life and sexuality, and on the other, projecting her in her every performance the image of a wild, tough, sexually liberated woman. Not unlike the lead character of the story O by Pauline Reage, Tina must act as though she glories in her submission, that she delights in being a slave of love. And going right back to that, as I repeated that whole thing, and on the other, projecting in every performance the image of a wild, tough, sexually liberated woman. That's me right there. I'm not saying that my husband was Ike. He was not. He was not. He was dominant in the relationship, and he was frustrated by these outside forces from this Roman Catholic Church. From every side, he was hit with as much as they could hit this family with, knowing what this family was going to produce. Right? So that angered him, and it angered him that I very often played into the hands, unknowingly, naively, but being of sound mind and body and extremely intelligent, still playing into the hands. What was Tina to do? You've got a suggestion? You know, she was as big as my finger, my tiny finger, right? That's how big she was. And just to be a little more accurate, all right, I will. These were her two legs. So tell me what she was going to do. Leaving Ike after many years of forced marital rape and physical abuse because his violence is utterly uncontrollable, Turner takes with her the image he created. Despite her experience of abuse rooted in sexist and racist objectification, Turner appropriated the wild woman image, using it for career advancement. Always fascinated with wigs and long hair, she created the blonde lioness mane to appear all the more savage and animalistic. Blondness links her to jungle imagery, even as it serves as an endorsement of a racist aesthetics, which she sees blonde hair as the epitome of beauty. Without Ike, Turner's career has soared to new heights, particularly as she works harder to exploit the visual representation of women, and particularly black woman, as sexual savage. And she did. Nobody did it better than her. She did it. He laid the foundation, and she was going to, by God, make some money at it. That's for Judy, sure, without being raped and beaten any longer. But the blonde hair thing as the epitome of beauty is really an interesting thing, because my family has suffered from that a little bit as well. Now, I didn't go with blonde hair or want to dye my hair that way because it damaged my hair. And I just didn't like damaged hair. I just didn't want that frizzy head look. The next thing you know, my mom's cutting off all my hair, and I look like I stuck my finger in a light socket as some Irish Catholic. So, no. I mean, but I do connect with this. And I do have this understanding of men, really, the men, I like the way that I married a blue-eyed guy, right? So the men I connected with as far as looks goes, and I've said this before, I like them, that kind of men, more often connected with blue-eyed blondes. But when you found one that really, really desired a dark-haired woman, maybe it was in part because they saw us as more slightly sexually deviant. It didn't matter, right? Because you got to know me, and, I'm not of that character, and you're a good-looking guy. Let's get to it. All right, here I am. Despite her experience of abuse rooted in sexist and racist objectification, Turner appropriated, did I read that? Yes. No longer caught in the sadomasochistic sexual iconography of black female and erotic war with her mate that was the subtext of the Ike and Tina Turner show, she is now portrayed as the autonomous black woman whose sexuality is solely a way to exert power. Inverting old imagery, she places herself in the role of dominator. Playing the role of anti-entity in the film Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, released in 1985, Turner's character evokes two racist, sexist stereotypes, that of black mammy, turned power-hungry, and the sexual savage who uses her body to seduce and conquer men. Portrayed as lusting after the white male hero who will conquer and reject her, anti-entity is a contemporary reenactment of that mythological black female in slavery who supposedly vamped and seduced virtuous white male slave owners. Of course, the contemporary white male hero of Mad Max is stronger than his colonial forefathers. He does not succumb to the dangerous lure of the deadly black seductress who rules over a mini nation whose power is based on the use of shit. Turner is the bad black woman in this film, an image she will continue to exploit. And, you know, when you've got the power to exploit it, and I heard Tina talk about this in interviews and stuff, to exploit it in your own, on your own terms, then that's what she chose to do. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. The big FU middle finger to everybody else. But I also remember finding a real great big distaste in her experiences and then how they portrayed on the screen in Mad Max, in particular, allowing Mel Gibson, Roman Catholic, author of The Passion, writer, director of The Passion, to treat her in a way that he would not succumb to the dangerous lure of the deadly black seductress as his nationalist forefathers did. Turner's video, What's Love Got to Do With It, also highlights the convergence of sexuality and power. Here, the black woman's body is represented as a potential weapon. In this video, she walks down rough streets, strutting her stuff in a way that declares desirability, allure, while denying access. It is not that she is no longer represented as available. She is open only to those whom she chooses. Assuming the role of hunter, she is a sexualized woman who makes men and women her prey. In the alluring gaze of the video, the body moves in the direction of both sexes. This tough black woman has no time for woman bonding. She is out to catch. Turner's fictive model of black women's sexual agency remains rooted in misogynist notions. Rather than being a pleasure-based eroticism, it is ruthless, violent. It is about women using sexual power to do violence to the male other. Appropriating the wild woman pornographic myth of black female sexuality created by men in a white supremacist patriarchy, Turner exploits it for her own ends to achieve economic self-sufficiency. When she left Ike, she was broke and in serious debt. The new Turner image conveys the image that happiness and power come to women who learn to beat men at their own game, to throw off any investment in romance and get down to the real dog-eat-dog thing. What's Love Got to Do With It, sung by Turner, evokes images of the strong, bitchified black woman who is on the make, subordinating the idea of romantic love and praising the use of sex for pleasure as a commodity to exchange. The song had great appeal for contemporary postmodern culture. And what I feel that the anger I get from women in general is, this is our power and you're stripping us of our power. But I'm not. You lost your power. The power of the pussy was lost in like 1980 with Duran Duran. You don't need that when you got this. Now that was, oh my gosh, Flip Wilson. And what was his counter alter ego? Gertrude, something like that. That's what that was. No doubt about it. What's Love Got to Do With It, sung by Turner, evokes images of the... All right, I already said that. It equates pleasure with materiality, making it an object to be sought after, taken, acquired by any means necessary. When sung by black women singers, What's Love Got to Do With It called to mind old stereotypes which make the assertion of black female sexuality and prostitution synonymous. Just as black female prostitutes in the 40s and 50s actively sought clients in the streets to make money to survive, thereby publicly linking prostitution with black female sexuality, contemporary black female sexuality is fictively construed in popular rap and R&B songs solely as commodity, sexual service for money and power. Pleasure is secondary. And I really was disappointed in that song. I loved seeing her. I loved seeing Tina Turner. I did. I didn't see her. I think I might have seen her in concert, but I think I was drugged at that concert as well, if I saw her. My husband did see her, and he thought she was hot as hell. And she was, because she was. But I was disappointed in that song. I didn't like to watch the video. I didn't even like to watch the video. It's like you succumb to every single stereotype, girl, and you've got the power. So put on some clothes And when you sing what's love got to do with it, the end game should be it's got something to do with it. You could have done a video like that. You could have climbed into bed with a husband and had your kids playing at your feet and saying what's love got to do with it. Sing your song for the man and create a different narrative. Like one where your sweater's all sloppy. And create a different narrative. You just want everyone to be like you. That was a cross between, Southern. What was her name? I got it. That was what happened there. Geraldine. It was Geraldine. That's what her name was. And she was that character. She'll do it for money, but she was also your aunt. That should be written about. That character right there. That's the survivor. You're 103 pounds dripping wet and you've got the power in the bedroom because you're so sexy. From what I hear, they like to slap those girls' faces with their dicks until their nose bleeds. All I'm saying is sexy's got some different definitions, girl. So does power. Contrasted with the representation of wild animalistic sexuality, black female singers like Aretha Franklin and younger contemporaries like Anita Baker fundamentally link romance and sexual pleasure. Aretha, though seen as a victim of no good men, the classic woman who loves too much and leaves the lyrics to prove it, also sang songs of resistance. Respect was heard by many black folks, especially black women, as a song challenging black male sexism and female victimization while evoking notions of mutual care and support. In a recent PBS special highlighting individual musicians, Aretha Franklin was featured. Much space was given in the documentary to white male producers who shaped her public image. In the documentary, she describes the fun of adding the words "Sakatumi" to respect as a powerful refrain. One of the white male producers, Jerry Wexler, offers his interpretation of its meaning, claiming that it was a call for sexual attention of the highest order. His sexualized interpretations of the song seemed far removed from the way it was heard and celebrated in black communities. Looking at this documentary, which was supposedly a tribute to Aretha Franklin's power, it was impossible not to have one's attention deflected away from the music by the subtext of the film, which can be seen as a visual narrative documenting her obsessive concern with the body and achieving a look suggesting desirability. To achieve this end, Franklin constantly struggles with her weight, and the images in the film chronicle her various shifts in body size and shape. As though mocking this concern with her body throughout most of the documentary, Aretha appears in what seems to be a household setting, a living room, maybe wearing a strapless evening dress, much too small for her breast size, so her breasts appear like two balloons filled with water about to burst. With no idea who shaped and controlled this image, I can only reiterate that it undermines the insistence in the film that she has overcome sexual victimization and remained a powerful singer. The latter seemed more likely than the former. Black female singers who project a sexualized persona are as obsessed with hair as they are with body size and body parts. As with 19th century sexual iconography, specific parts of the anatomy are designated more sexual and worthy of attention than others. Today, much of the sexualized imagery for black female stars seems to be fixated on hair. And not buttocks signifies animalistic sexuality. This is quintessentially so for Tina Turner and Diana Ross. It is ironically appropriate, and the neighbor lady over here, It is ironically appropriate that much of this hair is synthetic and man made, artificially constructed, as is the sexualized image it is meant to evoke. Within a particular culture where women over 40 are not represented as sexually desirable, it is understandable that singers exploiting sexualized representations who are near the age of 50 place less emphasis on body parts that may reflect aging while focusing on hair. Hey, I'm with you, girl. No doubt about it. Yeah, what time do we have here? One hour. And of course, I teach on the politics of sexuality, where we often examine connections between race and sex. We once critically analyzed a Vanity Fair cover depicting Diana Ross, posed on a white background, apparently naked, with the exception of white cloth draped loosely around her body. I remember this. The most striking element in the portrait was the long mane of jet black hair cascading down. There was so much hair that it seemed to be consuming her body, which looked frail and anorexic, negating the possibility that this naked flesh could represent active female sexual agency. The white diaper cloth reinforced the idea that this was a portrait of an adult female who wanted to be seen as childlike and innocent. During this time, she did this with her Michael Jackson kind of infatuation with him as well. So they were both symbolically representing something that was really dysfunctional. Symbolically, the hair that is almost a covering harkens back to early pictorial images of Eve in the garden. It evokes wildness, a sense of the natural world, even as it shrouds the body, repressing it, keeping it from the gaze of a culture that does not invite women to be sexual subjects. Concurrently, this cover contrasts whiteness and blackness. She was so, other than the contrast of her body with the white, and the dark hair contrast again, she was white. I mean, she was so anorexic. Where was her black ass? Where was her black figure? Whiteness dominates the page, obscuring and erasing the possibility of any assertion of black power. The longing that is most visible on this cover is that of the black woman to embody and be encircled by whiteness, personified by the possession of long straight hair. Since the hair is produced as commodity and purchased, it affirms contemporary notions of female beauty and desirability as that which can be acquired. That is just something else. That's for doggone sure. Way to go, bell hooks. Yeah. I don't know if I wrote some of this stuff, because I could tell you when I wrote this, if I wrote this, and that would have been after OCC and that girls' conference at OCC. I would have taken this as a summary. I asked the women which books are great, and I was like, what about Tina Turner? Because I had read Tina, and they're like, no, it's the same old, same old. Well, come on. Same old, same olds? All I'm saying is we are inundated, saturated, whatever iterated book or word that you want to use, by those same images. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I am here in the classroom on Friday. Why am I here on Friday? Because we had a long day yesterday making all kinds of great things. I have my fragrant things out. I'm not showing you them because early birds they really take the cake. Just on this stuff, right? Which means only that they get to see it first. But you guys got to see this. No lemon flavor, but a great lip balm. Look at my lips. Look at my face. That's my face wash. I have no makeup on. What a fucking narcissist. She's a fucking narcissist. This is Dr. Annette Feravich using the worst language that I can use about myself. It's self-deprecating. It is December 26th. We are here in the classroom on a Friday so we can complete the cycle of A healthier mind, a healthier body, a healthier spirit. And oh, by the way, don't think those Jesuits stopped with their cycles. 47 cycles in those miracle plays. 47 cycles. Don't think they weren't getting into your psyche as Lucifer is exiting and farting for the audience. On God. You're banned. Fart. That's hysterical. And it is. Dr. Annette Feravich bringing you a healthier mind, a healthier spirit, and a healthier body in a different way. Thanks for joining me here. I'll see you on Tuesday.